GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that's excited, confused, slightly messy, and somehow still adorable, like raising a puppy. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton. It's Thursday, July the 3rd. Happy Independence Day, one day before, to all the Americans listening in. I forgot to wish all my fellow Canadians a happy Canada Day earlier this week. Happy patriotism to everybody around the world, because I hope wherever you are doing well. Today, we are joined by Kellam, director of BitLab Academy and host of the BitLab Academy podcast. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, where we're at right now, and where we could be going by the end of the year. Standard Charter just put out a new, actually, I didn't say new, they reaffirmed their Bitcoin target for the end of the year, 200K by the end of the year. We're going to break that down and where we think it's going. Ethereum, ripping this morning. Altcoins, everything is ripping this morning. Everything's looking good. ETH, we're going to talk about what's going on with ETH. We're talking about Solana ETF, launched yesterday with staking. First ETF with staking. You can get rewards, your staking rewards, through an ETF. I can't believe that happened so quickly. Incredible to see the 180 change that's happening on the regulation side from the US government that's allowing these types of things to happen. So you can bet that Ethereum ETFs with staking will be coming soon as well. So much bullish news to break down. Before we jump in, if you are struggling with your crypto portfolio and you want to understand how to build a well-rounded crypto portfolio, you should check out our free guide that will help you. It's basically like a cheat code for crypto portfolios. Hit the link in the show notes to get the free guide today. Today's episode is brought to you by Nexo, the platform that grows your crypto without locking it away. Also brought to you by Ledn. Get cash without selling your Bitcoin. Without further ado, Kelly, welcome to the Milk Road Show.
You know what? I'm just happy to be here. I've had this. I'll just share this real quick. This wonderful addition to my life recently here on the screen. I don't know if you could share that up on there. Yeah,
I'll get it.
And this is what I call the accumulation phase. This is a Wyckoff just before the spring, before she goes into maniac mode, which I don't know if any of you guys, this is where she at. I just shared this morning right here. This is pre-maniac mode. Just by the way, this is the fourth indestructible toy that she's destroyed in 2 days. I'm talking that this is middle of pre-shred before full shred, but I'm feeling good. The markets are looking absolutely fantastic. From the SPX complete meltdown, where Trump is the dumbest guy ever, and now all of a sudden you see it, the market's pushing to new highs. Bitcoin with the most overwhelming bullish case we've ever seen. I was talking yesterday on one of the Mario Nawfal shows about how it's interesting that people are still asking, and I get it, because people are still finding their way to Bitcoin, even just hearing about it in a way that is meaningful, because everybody's heard the word Bitcoin in America, at least once, since its inception. But it's gotten to the point where now people hear the word Bitcoin and go, okay, let me be curious about it. And so people are wondering, man, you don't buy things when they're high. So how can you say buy Bitcoin now and Bitcoin's over $100,000? Well, a friend of mine, Dave Weisberger, says this also regularly. The difference is everything pre-January 20th, every minute of the Bitcoin chart pre-January 20th was a bet with risk. Now with Bitcoin, we've entered what I call Epoch 2, this whole next phase of Bitcoin, where Bitcoin has entered the world stage in a way that is supported by the dominant player of the world stage, which is the US. And so if that's the case, then that means that Bitcoin at $109,000 is actually the starting point for where it's going. So we need to stop asking, isn't it high? It's how can I get as much as possible now? Because now it's the asymmetric bet of a millennium right now. So we all need to be focused in. And that's why I'm happy to be here on the show with you, talking to some more people and sharing these thoughts.
I love it. I love the proud puppy father energy that you're bringing today. That's awesome. Great to meet Ollie. Ollie's sleeping in the background. Maybe she'll wake up and jump on your lap at some point during the show. We'll get to say hi to her. I think that I completely agree. The thing that I've said for a while is exactly what you're saying, which is there was only one thing left that needed to happen for me to confidently tell all my friends and family to buy Bitcoin. right? Because I was confident in saying that to a lot of people before, but only the ones that I knew would go do the research and think for themselves. Whereas like, a lot of friends and family, you get together, they're like, just tell me what to buy. I don't want to think, right? And the one thing that needed to happen was governments getting behind it and central banks getting behind it. That was the last chip to fall. And that happened. And now that that has happened, unfortunately, because of macro madness, we didn't really see the price action that we thought we would see to start this year, but it doesn't, all those tailwinds still exist. The setup is still there. And it seems like macro is sorting, not only is macro sorting itself out, all trains, all roads lead to more money printing. And the big, beautiful bill that is currently past the Senate and back in the House now, we'll see if this one passes this week. What does it have? Even more money printing. It proposes even more deficit for the US. So it's just like there's never been a better setup for Bitcoin and risk on assets. And that's where Bitcoin plays this like very interesting dual role right now, right? Where you see it is starting to be seen more as a safe haven, and you are having those types of like gold bug investors, macro investors that are buying Bitcoin for that play. But at the same time, it's still a risk on asset. And what happens when we have money printing? Risk on assets fly, right? Risk on assets move. And so I think, I don't know what your thoughts are. Let me just pull up this article from today. Was that Standard and Charter re-released their target for Bitcoin for 2025, and their target is 200K by the end of the year, driven by ETF and corporate treasury buying. I don't know where you think Bitcoin's going this year.
I'm kind of mixed feelings about it, because I very much think that $200,000 is very much like a very dominant possibility of where we could go. I think we're going up throughout this year, and I don't want to say the 4-year cycle is broken. I think I'll say the 4-year cycle on Bitcoin has been misunderstood, right? It played out in a certain way pre-January 20th of this year. And one of those factors is the fact that it was a risk asset before. And some people still want to put it in that risk bucket right now because it still performs like a risk asset, but it's very quickly becoming known. And we can see this by the corporate stacking, even the corporate stacking versus ETF stacking, where retail players and stuff like that. I'm talking about corporates putting it on their balance sheet. I'm talking about them buying Bitcoin, not even corporates that are buying Bitcoin ETFs. That's the exact chart that I was thinking of, that specific chart. We're seeing that the Bitcoin that's getting stacked by corporations, they're not buying this for a quarterly trade. They're not buying it for, if it dips a little bit, they're going to have some issues. If you come over to my screen right here, they're buying it with some of these considerations right here. Trump's executive director of crypto says industry is probably going to go to $15 to $20 trillion. That is a massive move from where we're at now. That's up basically $17 trillion from where we're at right now. And so considering that, yes, Bitcoin has historically run on what we'll call a 4-year cycle, but that's also Tech Dev. If you ever follow his stuff, Tech Dev _52, he's kind of made the case for the last 3 or 4 years that is it the 4-year cycle, or is it just so happen to be that the 4-year cycle, whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is, he, she, they, whoever the group of people or person is, maybe they were so genius that they put it on the presidential election cycle. They put it on the global liquidity cycle. They put it on the business cycle. All these things lined up, and all of it was a risk asset before. Now, because we have corporate stacking, we have sovereign bodies like the US with the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, now an executive order to figure out how to get that done. We have states that have already enacted a Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. We have big money players coming in. I don't think we're going to see major dips anymore. However, I will just highlight something on this chart right here. This is very important. The difference here is when you and I were thinking about, we have Bitcoin eyes. The second we learned about it, within that month or so, everything that I was about became about Bitcoin, became about the digital asset ecosystem. And I felt like I was losing my mind, because this was back in 2015, 2016. There wasn't a soul within 100 miles of me that I could talk to about it. And if they were in a cave somewhere mining their own Bitcoin. Now we have community around this, but people are not understanding this dynamic where this feels like it's the end of the world in an asset. This 40% drop feels like the end of the world in an asset. However, this exact dip, if you look at this zoomed out, that's the 40% dip right there. That's the end of the world. Well, it looks like all these doomsayers were so overwhelmingly wrong. And so I bring that up because not that I think we're going to be getting an 80% drawdown or 60% or consistent 40% drawdowns, but even looking at the cycle that we've had so far, and I've got a couple of things outlined here. This is the FTX bottom, boom, into the world, right? But then it broke out. After all, there's a bunch of on-chain data that suggested signals for moving up, the time scale on the 4-year cycle, all this. But once we established this, we had this nice run up into the ETF speculation. But then, oh my God, it was the end of the world again because we got a over 20% pump to the downside when ETFs went live. I thought ETFs are supposed to be good. This is the short-sightedness of markets. Because then from that drawdown, when the market was over, ETFs suck. Well, we got a 90% move to the upside. Oh, it's back. We're going to $300,000 in 2 months. Well, then the market humbles everybody and we go sideways. We go sideways for 239 days into the most epic accumulation stage ever, especially with the end of the world again. Japanese yen carry trade, we got a 30% pullback. 30% pullback down to 40, was that $48,000? And then a mega boom from there, right back up, slingshot up to like 120%. So the reason why I say this is there's something to be endured in spirit and belief about Bitcoin for you to really be able to stomach this. And the more you read and understand Bitcoin, the more you look at each one of these dips as opportunities or an opportunity not to just go and stare at a 15-minute chart and be completely anxiety driven on every move. Because even with where we're at right now, this is a beautiful setup. We've come into this zone that I've highlighted for about 3 months, this mega pump gateway zone, and we almost got it. We almost got it. We're right there again, almost getting it. And you know what? We may break out of this week and completely start moonshotting. But as I outlined on my show earlier on BitLab, there's still a very real case because of how much bullishness is involved to wash the people out of the market that are not strong hands. If this move bothers you, or if this move bothers you, it's going to be hard for you. However, if I even bought here, which I did the other day to prove a point, I don't mind buying this top because if I buy down here as well, I'm lowering my average entry. The problem is you and I think about right now is the best buy opportunity in history because of the asymmetric setup for this, with all the support coming in, with all the capital flooding in and only getting stronger and with more power or more flow coming into markets. But that's to be said, this is the best time in history. But if it drops, it doesn't mean it's over because we've seen this time and time again. And this has only always been setups for higher.
If long meetings and judgmental bankers are your thing, Nexo's probably not. Nexo is a premier wealth platform built for people who value their time and money. It's built for people who have idle cash lying around and want it to grow fast. Whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even Forex-pegged assets like USDT or USDC, Nexo offers up to 14% annual interest and access to crypto-backed credit in under 24 hours. Your assets need a platform built for growth. Join Nexo.
Selling your Bitcoin should be a last resort when you need cash. That's why there's Ledn, the trusted platform for Bitcoin-backed loans. You can unlock cash in as little as 18 hours with no monthly interest payments and no prepayment penalties. They've issued over $9 billion in loans and never lost a single Satoshi of client funds, even during the chaos of 2022. If you're a long-term hodler, this is the move. Get liquidity without selling at milkroad.com/Ledn, spelled Ledn. And I really like the picture you're painting. This is a great trading view chart that you set up, by the way, especially because I don't think this volatility changes, right? Like, I don't think we can sit here as bulls and I still believe we're in a bull cycle. I'm going to disagree with you. I think the 4-year cycle is over. I do think we're in a new pattern now. And
that's what I mean.
What that is yet, right? You think that too?
Yeah.
Because that where we're going from here is very much driven by institutions. And I mean, just look at the numbers. 245,000 Bitcoin was bought by ETF and corporate treasuries in Q2 alone. And that's corporate treasuries has climbed every single quarter over the past year, and ETF is continuing to climb as well. So that's not going to stop. I bet BlackRock's ETF gave them more fees than their S&P 500 ETF in the last quarter. So wait, you don't think they're pushing it? And I saw you on your show today, you showed it, I don't remember, maybe this was from Matt Hogan from Bitwise. I don't remember who said this, but something about how investment advisors, one of the big things that people don't realize is, okay, most investors invest through investment advisors.
It's this one right here.
Yeah, pull that one up, because there is big flows going to come when investment advisors can advise to buy their clients to buy Bitcoin. What's the quote here? Read this to us.
So I was in a space with the Mario team today, and Matt Hogan said, he said in the last 3 months, and people are not going to understand what this means. Yes, we've had ETFs since January 11th of last year. Yes, Trump's been in office since January. But what he's saying is in the temperature and the regulation, and not only regulation, but the inner workings, the policies within these institutions like Morgan Stanley. And I mean, there's some, I can't remember, there's an insane number of registered investment advisors out there that are helping direct people's money. And there's $10 trillion in assets under management for registered investment advisors that have just, based by their institutional policies, have gotten the green light to solicit, aka to say, yeah, Bitcoin's a good investment. You should add 1%. Yeah. You should add 2%. Even when we got half of that 1%, half of 1% of $10 trillion is a massive amount of money. That's $500 billion.
It is crazy. It is crazy to think about the number of people that still do not own Bitcoin, because most of the world does not own Bitcoin. The other Matt Hogan quote that I love, that's probably a year old now, was that 95% of the world doesn't own Bitcoin, but 95% of all Bitcoin is owned. That stat would have changed by now, but that's where we're at, right? Is that you have this asset that has a capped supply, which we've never had, right? Even gold, which is the capped supply asset, you can mine more gold, and you can bet that if gold continues to go to all-time highs, there's a lot of people out there trying to mine more gold and trying to increase the supply. Can't do that with Bitcoin, not possible. And then at the same time, you have this asset that for the first time ever, retail can get to early. Now it's changing because institutions are here, but hang on, everybody. Like, just hold on. Do not jump ship now, but expect, I really like what your point is, expect that we could go down. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see below 100K again in the next few months. Right. And I think if we do, great buying opportunity. I still think we end the year much higher. And even if we do, let's say we get 200K in this cycle, maybe we get 250K. My prediction has been 240K in this cycle, which I think is probably sometime Q1, Q2 of 2026. And if we do hit that, I'm not saying we don't go down again. I think our drops in the next bear market are less than they have been in the past, but I could still see us going down 50, maybe even 60%, because it is still a risk on asset. It is still playing both of those trades, right? And I think it will continue to do so for the foreseeable future.
Well, I wanted to highlight this because I'm glad you said that number, because it's kind of right in the zone that I'm talking about. I have this outlined, and it talks about the different phases here that have also changed. We have the bull market, of course. This is what I call the regularly scheduled bull market on the 4-year cycle. The start of Bitcoin financialization. This is where things really start changing with the ETFs getting launched here. It wasn't just immediate. You know, after that first quarter, we saw, I think it was 900, and it was just under 1,000 corporate institutional stacking into the ETF, which was almost like, oh, this is the kind of data big money players like to look at. So that starts opening up the curiosity and the pocketbooks of institutions, corporations, and developers on how they can get into this field. And then we have this green phase right here, this box, which was right when this crypto administration was elected. This is November 5th of this last year. And then, of course, we have the inauguration here. But this is where the world is racing to stack Bitcoin, because now we have the biggest country in the world talking about starting a strategic Bitcoin reserve and stacking 1 million Bitcoin, in addition to a lot of the regulations that are coming out. out and so forth. But even despite all this, these are the targets that I've had. I call this the astronaut zone. This would be if we above 250 up to about 360. I think this is possible, but I think what's most likely is right in this zone here, somewhere in the, if we don't get the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve all the way into 2 years from now, then we might be on the low side of this target. But I'm pretty confident we're going to get that in order, and because of that, I think we'll be somewhere in this. It's near the 3.618 fib, but somewhere between the 180 and 240, somewhere in the middle of these two sort of zones. And there's just so much bullishness here with all this. There was something because of this 4-year cycle. This is further substantiated why I think it's over. Not only do we have institutions, corporations, and sovereign bodies, states, all stacking, we also have this available supply metric. This is from the Rational Root, his platform called Bitcoin Strategy Platform. But you see, all the way until we hit this previous, most recent halving and that break of all-time high just before the halving, which has never happened. We also got the terminal sort of apex here of the top of available supply. And so indefinitely now for the rest of Bitcoin's life cycle, we're going to have a decrease in available supply. At the same time, we're having exponential, way to plan for exponential increases in demand to buy, let alone the integrations for payments and all that stuff, which will come in some time as well, which is going to only increase the amount of demand and capital flow on the market. So I could not literally physically be more bullish about what's happening. And I pray every day for myself to have more patience, because I see where this is going in 10 years. I'm like, give me that liquidity now, baby. I want, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Which is an interesting point, because we've had lots of guests on the show recently around lending and borrowing and opportunities to get, I would say, be careful with leverage, be careful when you go and you lend and you borrow, right? But there is a lot of opportunity and a lot of people thinking right now, hey, if I think this is going higher and I can do it in a safe way, then I should go do that. Many of the sponsors of the show are all focused on that.
I was all over Nexo last cycle.
Right.
I made some big moves there. I think Nexo is a great platform. Well,
shout out Nexo. Hey, you guys should contact Kelly. I got to bring up this one. You had this on your show this morning, and I really love this. This is from Lindsay Stamp. She said, boomers bought homes for 100K that are worth 1.5 million now, and we can buy Bitcoin for 100K that'll be worth 1.5 million in a couple of decades. That feels like the exact quote that I want to save that and look at that a decade from now, because it is so true. Because we all sit here and we think, hey, how are we ever going to achieve what our parents achieved, what that generation achieved, right? We don't have, where's our opportunity to have the real estate boom that they all had? Well, it's sitting right in front of us. It's digital assets, right? Mm-hmm. Bitcoin being the big one, but you go down the stack, there's other opportunities as well. And we have that right now. And we are still so early. Like, so many people think that we're not early. Oh, it's 100K, I missed it, right? No, we are still so early. So don't miss out, because the opportunity is right in front of us.
But you know what? It's not just Bitcoin. Like, here's the deal. There's maxis out there that are like, I even have people that comment on me, because I do a lot of Bitcoin focused stuff, and even how important it is to stack Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin, and it's the apex. But then I'll also post about Chainlink. I'll also post about BitTensor. I'll post about Solana. I post because if we look at Bitcoin as changing the entire, it's not a revolution. It's like the Industrial Revolution on just steroids, because it's changing the infrastructure layer of our world for both commerce, culture, transaction, real estate. It literally changes everything. Now, while Bitcoin's not specifically going to be used as a big part of the infrastructure for the digital world, it's going to be part of that. A big part of it's going to be store of value, gold. Yes, some transactions. Yes, some lending, those sort of mechanisms. But it's going to be Chainlink. It's going to be BitTensor for the infrastructure for AI ecosystem. Solana, Ethereum after all the stablecoin, the Genius Act. The world is literally entirely moving onto the blockchain, and there's going to be a handful of some incredible gains to be made that right now feel like it's not going to happen. There's never going to be an altcoin season because Bitcoin is taking all the liquidity. Well, right now, yes. However, there is a massive boom to come. And this is just one of those cycles that, because we've had two and a half with altcoins cycles where we have massive altcoin seasons, this is a cycle that's humbling people because they expected it. But now this is a cycle of patience. It's still coming, but not for every one of those coins most people hold. It's going to be a select group, and they are going to melt faces, and everybody's going to be like, but this is the next one. There's not going to be that many next ones, I think, here on out.
Yeah, I completely agree that we will have the altcoin season, but it won't be every altcoin like it has in the past. And a big thing I keep on saying, and we keep saying at Milk Road, is what is altcoin season going to be? A big part of altcoin season is actually the public equities now, the Robinhoods, the Coinbase, the Circles, right? There's a huge demand for those, and a lot of money is flowing into those. And also the corporate treasury buys are all doing really well right now. And so you're seeing there's just a different narrative. And it doesn't mean, I still believe we get altcoin season in tokens as well, but I think it won't be everything. I want to chat about a few of them though. Let's talk about Solana, because we got to bring up Solana because they launched their first ETF, launched yesterday with staking, as I mentioned earlier in the show. And they did 33 million in volume in day one, which you might sit here and say, okay, 33 million in volume, like that's a joke, that's nothing, right? But if you put that into perspective of ETF launches, Eric Bokunis from Bloomberg estimates that by the end of this year, that first day volume will be top 10 ETF launches out of the 900 ETFs that will launch this year. Top 10. So, hey, guys, we're doing great. Apparently, already today, the Solana ETF has done over 10 million in volume. So we're just over halfway through the market day today.
Hey, let's not forget that David Sachs, who is the crypto and AI czar of the US in the presidential administration as we speak, one of the coins that he was very, I don't want to say affiliated with, he had investments in and spoke very highly of, was Solana.
Yeah. And then he had to sell. Kudos to him. He sold all of his Solana before he took that role. But yeah, there is becoming a very clear path for in the short term for both Solana and Ethereum to win in my mind. I used to wonder if, hey, in the short term, is only one of them going to win? It feels very clear to me that they're going to win along with a few others. You look at Hype, you look at Sui, Chainlink, Tau. I really like Tau as well. But I think that you can see a small bucket here. For Solana, the thing that continues to wow me is the amount of attention that they're starting to get beyond meme coins. Like, everyone's afraid that, okay, meme coins are done, then Solana's done. I don't think meme coins are done. I think they're here to stay forever, right? The attention economy is not going away, and everyone loves to speculate on sports. So why wouldn't they speculate on attention, right? Yeah. But then let's talk about Ethereum for a second, because Ethereum's the one that everyone's unsure about. And the things that stand out to me on Ethereum, let me bring up a couple of things here. One is Matt Hogan, who keeps coming up on today's show, shout out Matt, is flows into the Ethereum ETF. He thinks they're going to accelerate significantly in the second half of this year. So the Ethereum ETF did about 1.1 billion in flows in June. He thinks it could do 10 billion in the second half of this year. So, and what does he think that's led by? The narrative shift. And a big part of that narrative shift is Robinhood's announcement earlier this week that they're doing an L2 on Ethereum, which really validates these tech incumbents are going to want to own their blockchain stack. And you can't do that on Solana in the same way. The way to do that is to do an L2 on Ethereum. And so that is validated now. And then if Ethereum owns stablecoins, which they do already, and you said yourself, stablecoins is a narrative that is absolutely huge, and everybody wants exposure to that. Okay, so if you're a TradFi investor, I think you can understand stablecoins enough to say, okay, where do they exist? Oh, they exist on Ethereum. Okay, great, let's go. And then tokenized stocks. If Robinhood can really pull off tokenized stocks, I have yet to see somebody who can really pull off, like Kraken is doing tokenized stocks, but it's all still so early, and it's very experimental and very innovative right now.
Well, yeah, it's Kraken, Injective, Bybit, and of course Ondo is in that narrative, which makes me kind of question a little bit. It does make me question, is the space getting crowded? Is it just going to be knighted by certain partnerships? I don't know. Or is the space big enough that based on different regions, they're going to utilize different chains? I don't know.
Well, here's a good one for you. So so Robinhood in their announcement said that you could not only tokenizing stocks, they're tokenizing private equity, right? Which is a really, I think for all of us in crypto, like that's what we want, right? Like give us access to these investment vehicles because we all have the opportunity to invest in crypto early, but investing in AI early, which I think, you and I and anybody who's in tech and in crypto is like, hey, give me some opportunities for AI, right? But how is AI all funded? It's not funded on chain. It's not funded by tokens. It's funded by private investment right now.
That's right.
So here we have Robinhood announces that you're going to be able to buy OpenAI tokens. And then OpenAI came out yesterday and said, these OpenAI tokens are not OpenAI equity. We do not partner with Robinhood. We are not involved with this, and we do not endorse it. Any transfer of OpenAI equity requires our approval. We do not approve any transfer. Please be careful. So to me, that's bullish. Like to me, that's very bullish because it's innovation happening right before our eyes. And you have people saying, whoa, 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 we don't know what the regulation is around this. We don't know what the laws are. Our lawyers are probably yelling at us saying, hey, did you let Robinhood do this? What's happening? But that's great. That's exactly what we need to happen. Because I do think that this concept of tokenized private equity is going to do very well in the future.
Oh, I completely agree with that. And furthermore, on the point about Ethereum, we even had Tom Lee go on CNBC, I think it was, or one of the financial talk shows the other day, and talk about
CNBC.
starting an Ethereum treasury, stacking in because getting that same sort of share in. I mean, we have to realize what this is. It's not just crypto. Isn't like, hey, that coin can make me some money anymore. Not that you're not going to make money in crypto, but that narrative is long since past. You can still make a great deal of money in the sector, but the narrative that you need to focus on now to follow the right kind of data, so you're looking at the right alpha to make the right decisions, is the fact that the entire global commerce sector, the entire global payments sector, the entire global economy and stock markets are all moving on chain. Everything from Chainlink integrating with Swift and DTCC, Ethereum basically being the not the harbinger, but the dominant player, large dominant market share for stablecoins. This, I mean, look at where big money is going to have to evolve into this blockchain sector, and that's where the big money is going to be made.
Yeah. Yeah. I just can't stop looking at the puppies on the screen behind you, Kelly.
You know what it reminds me of?
It's so
Every year.
nice.
Do you like
lovely.
football? Do you watch football?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like I get as excited at the beginning of the Super Bowl for the Puppy Bowl as I do to watch the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, but yeah, just for anybody that's tuned in late, I am a dog lover, but I got a new puppy that's you can't see her, but she's sleeping over there in a kennel. So I have some dog TV. There's actually a channel. I'm curious. I want to look into their numbers, their revenue, how much money they make for people just streaming 20. It's a 24-hour stream of just dog TV with the nice little
puppies,
piano music with puppies. Yeah,
it's lovely. It's lovely. Kelly, absolute pleasure to get you on the show today, my man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, I appreciate it. We'll have to get you. I had your boy Keith on my show about 2 months ago or so. I'd love to get him or you or both of you over on BitLab sometime. Let's do this again. I appreciate you. And everybody out there, make sure you're not becoming enamored by price and price action. Become enamored by the data that suggests what price action can do, and you will win 100 times more than being lost in the excitement and fear of price action.
Well said. Well said. Kelly, mic drop, my man. Thanks so much for listening in, everybody. As always, I need to remind you, none of today's episode is investment advice. I'm not your investment advisor. Kelly's not your investment advisor. You should do your own research. And if you need to, you should speak to a qualified investment advisor, and always think before you make investments, because investing is difficult and risky, and it does come with a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of downside. Thanks so much for tuning in, y'all. One more time, if you want help with your 2025 crypto portfolio, make sure you get our free guide that gives you a well-rounded perspective on how to set up a crypto portfolio, what tokens should be in it, how to diversify within crypto, and so much more. Hit the link in the show notes. Thanks again, y'all. Have a wicked awesome day. We'll see you back again tomorrow. If y'all are making swaps or trades right now, highly recommend you check out Milk Road Swap. This is a DEX that we built in partnership with Cow Protocol. Why did we build it? Not to make money, just honestly so we could have a place to do our swaps for the lowest fees that we could find. This is the fees on Ethereum, Arbitrum, and Base are only 0.15% fees. This is a huge difference from other centralized exchanges that charge 0.5% or even up to 1.2% fees on their swaps. Also, you can swap on Solana, all at swap.milkroad.com. Check it out today. You won't be upset. And you can join me in my favorite place to make swaps on chain. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your number one resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.